throughout the course of the day. We've lost a few, but yeah, no, we're doing pretty well. You know, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's
So
been
tell me
good.
about
It's
the
been a
crowd.
great, it's been a good day so far.
Excellent. Tell me about the crowd.
Well, it's mostly teachers.
Excellent.
Yep. So mostly junior high, high school teachers. And then we have a few just industry guests that were interested, that just heard about what we were doing and just wanted to kind of peek in to see what we're teaching the teachers.
Perfect. And teachers, urban versus rural. What's the split?
A mix.
Good.
Yeah, nice mix. Yeah, and
And
we also
Alberta,
have some
I'm
of
assuming.
our a few of our colleagues from Ag in the Classroom Canada that are joining us as well today. So
Perfect. And is this
nice little
Alberta?
mix, but yeah, mostly teachers. But
Cool. In Alberta or elsewhere, geographic? Just Alberta.
we're mostly Alberta, but yeah, we have a few out of province, and like I said, our Ag in the Classroom Canada staff. We've got a few from around the country and on there. So yeah,
Perfect.
mostly Alberta teachers, but a bit of a mixed bag.
Who's here for Ag in the Classroom? I have a question for Ag in the Classroom people.
Oh, Melissa, are you here? I don't know if she's on right now. Someone else from Ag in the Classroom Canada?
Okay, that's okay.
Well, we are Ag in the Classroom Alberta. Like maybe I can answer your question for you.
It was just the Real Dirt on Farming resource that I have. There's a teacher resource guide from 2014, I think, and I see they've just released a new Real Dirt on Farming. The whole thing is fantastic. 2020, and I was just wondering if there was a teacher resource to go with it.
I will look into that for you.
It's Larry. We're working on it. Yes, the answer is going to be yes. We're just updating and making the resources that go with the updated version. So yes, stay tuned.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think it is 2:15. So Keith, if you're ready, I'll introduce you here and we'll get started. So welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice little break. I have noticed quite a few people actually sending in their scavenger hunt lists. So I'll probably have to wait until after the symposium to actually be able to look through them. But if you sent in your photos of any of the goodies you collected, you can expect a nice little prize in the next few days. Great, so moving on, growing opportunities in agriculture, alternatives, and entrepreneurship. We'd like to welcome Keith Driver, who is CEO of Intera Feed Corp. Keith is a serial entrepreneur in the clean tech and ag tech spaces with experience across North America. He's served in leadership positions in several tech companies over the past 20 years. His experience includes founding, senior marketing, technical, and management roles focused on emerging products and technologies. I think I'll let him tell you the rest. He's got lots of cool things on the go. So yeah, welcome, Keith.
Perfect. Thanks, Nancy, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. I grew up. My sister is a teacher, and right now vice principal now. And I've done a bit of teaching, and my passion is about teaching entrepreneurship. And my area of study and work is in ag. So my thought for the presentation is this: normally a presentation I would give, say, in an MBA classroom and otherwise. So there's full of information, and stop me and make it relevant. If there's a question you want to ask, by all means, jump in and go from there. Can you guys all see the screen? It should have a big Propel Ventures thing on it at the moment. Excellent. We'll call that victory. I've got a couple of videos to go through, and we're going to test my technical skills as we do that, but we'll figure it out. So I work for a company called Propel Ventures. We work in 3 areas. We're essentially a family office, or a set of family offices, and we invest together in 3 areas. One is capitalizing on change in energy, and one's caring for an aging population. And the one that I work on is feeding a growing population. And we look at that as, no one ever gets up in the morning and says, man, I don't really know what I'm doing for the world. If you're feeding a growing population, it's sort of intrinsically good. And it's really motivating, and it provides a lot of purpose. And my aim to that is, as we look to the future, providing entrepreneurs and professionals with purpose in their work is super important. So that's why we focus there. The key thematic drivers for us as we look at this as an industry where we need 70% more food to feed the world. And there's all sorts of data around the calorie deficit that the earth has right now in terms of how we're going to feed all these people. And, that's just the food that people eat. When you think about the feed side of it, well, there's competing, food versus feed discussions all the time. We want to have Everyone wants to eat chicken, but you have to have something to feed the chickens. And the things that used to feed the chickens are now in Beyond Meat burgers. And so you end up with this. It's a bit of a zero-sum game as to where this stuff comes from. And then we look at the waste organics that are underutilized, and there's about 30 to 40% of food products don't make it to the end customer. They're wasted at some point along the value chain, and that means less value to the farmer, but it also means that we could meet some of our future needs simply by becoming more efficient or upcycling nutrients when we come from, and that creates an opportunity. There's a waste for somebody as a input for somebody else, and these are sort of how we look at it. I always show this picture. It's a picture that reminds me of when I used to live in Iowa. I lived in Iowa for a couple of years, building a business down there, and this is what people think of when they think of farming, typically. And you got the hog barns in the back, you've got the sewage lagoon, you got the crops growing, and field upon field of whatever. And that farming is true, and it's a big part of what is agriculture. But there's also a much more STEM based, science, engineering based farming that's coming up behind that, and is quickly going to overtake it. And so that's where I get into the controlled environment world. So all of my farming predominantly is done indoors. I have a little bit of stuff that's outdoors, but it's almost all indoors. And the reason for that is, if you think about what we need, if we're going to do it all outdoors, we need to find another country the size of Brazil worth of arable land to be able to feed everybody. And we don't have the water to do it, and we don't have the fossil fuels to be able to do it for the long run. And we've got this food security piece where we're trying to find ways of getting food closer to. And therefore, indoor farming offers an opportunity to densify the production and provide a new and novel way of bringing people back to the farm. I.e., if you're just growing off a fixed land resource, to bring the next generation back to the farm, they either have to be really interested in that, and as families get bigger, that land has to support more and more people. If not, people leave. And that was a big problem in Iowa, is the exodus of the younger generation, because no one wants to work in a hog barn. And so we went down there to build indoor agriculture because that was a way of bringing families back into the farming community. And that was a big driver for our human capital. So engaging with folks that were interested in that. So I'm going to talk about 3 different companies that I'm involved in. I think they provide sort of, to me, they're really interesting examples of where agriculture, atypical agriculture, is going. Intera, which I'll talk about, is the world's largest livestock owner. We grow black soldier fly larvae, and for those that are squeamish, I'm going to show lots of pictures of bugs and maggots, and that's what we produce. About 40 tons of dried maggots a week. At the moment, I'm going to talk about shrimp, and they're the insects of the sea. And I'm going to show those as well. And then I'm going to talk about aeropodder, where we're growing feed indoors. I'm putting these out there as ideas and thoughts of how to broaden it. I'd always love to figure out how to bring it back to the audience about how this might become part of curriculum or otherwise, and I'm happy to stop and have that discussion at any given time. But I think Nancy just asked me to talk about weird and wonderful things, and that's what I'll do, and we'll see where we go. So in Terra, our purpose is to harness the power of insects to feed and care for the world. If there's about 1 billion people on the planet that rely on insects as a primary source of protein. It's a natural source of protein for birds, poultry, dogs around the world. And so we're looking to industrialize and domesticate the species and pull that together. And so we market and manufacture and market those ingredients. There's a company called Entomo that produces for, what are they called? President's Choice cricket flour, and we produce a similar product. Ours is black soldier fly flour, but it's the same. It's an insect flour made from the black soldier fly. Same drivers for this business, particularly though it's around feed. Insects provide an excellent feed source, so they'll eat pretty much anything to upcycle the human grade food waste. The things we won't eat in a grocery store, all those One of our suppliers is the guys that make the fruit trays for Safeways. We take all their trimmings and turn that into high value protein. So our protein sells for about $4,000 a ton, which is about was it $4 a kilo? If you're comparing that to other sources of protein like beef or chicken, and well, we can do it feeding ingredients that aren't otherwise available in the food chain. We grow the black soldier fly, and you can see one of them here, and that's a female. And don't ask me how to tell the difference, but I can based on the little feelers on the back end. They don't require any arable land. We have 200,000 square feet of growing space just outside of Calgary, right by Cross Iron Mills, for those who know the area, or between Calgary and Airdrie. And it's incredibly palatable and rich. To tell you what they taste like when you eat them, not in the fly form, this is an adult in a fly form, but when they're in the larvae form, i.e. the maggot, they taste like peanut butter Rice Krispies. So they've got a bit of a nutty flavor, kind of a neat weird out factor, ick factor thing to do. But we eat them off the line when they're coming out of the dryer. They're really quite tasty. We've industrialized the process. We put about $40 million into domesticating it. And so while it is the largest livestock operation in the world, it is there's about 4 billion insects in the building at any given time, but it's highly an engineered solution. It's not your typical feedlot operation or other more traditional conventional ag operation. 98% of the flies we harvest as larvae, and I'll show you what that looks like. And the other 2%, the lucky 2%, turn into breeding stock and produce. The female will lay 600 to 800 eggs, and we've found a way to collect those little eggs. What makes this species particularly interesting is they grow 1 million percent of their body weight in 3 weeks. So, which is pretty incredible in terms of how efficient they are at growing. If cows grew that fast, we'd be awash in hamburger. We turn those into 4 products. The grubs, which are the dried larvae, we can then press those out into protein and oil. And you get the sort of protein that has no real flavor. And it's the same as you would have, protein powders for smoothies and that. We don't sell into the human food market, but it's the equivalent. And then the frass is a fertilizer that comes off the back end, which is sort of the worm castings equivalent. And so it creates a really interesting experiment. We put a bunch of larvae in a mason jar, and then you put in an orange, and you can watch them eat the orange, and it leaves the full exoskeleton of the orange there, and you can feel the heat coming off because they're digesting all those calories, and the jar will actually turn. It's a quite an exothermic type reaction where you get a lot of heat generated from that process, and you can see them how they cluster feed on top of each other. It's interesting for me, and maybe not for anybody else. We sell into a number of markets. Wild bird, exotic pets probably makes sense just because that's what those would go after. Dogs and cats, particularly the 1 in 10 dogs that have allergies, we're hypoallergenic. Unless you're allergic to shrimp and other crustaceans, then you're allergic to us as well. But if you're not, you're allergic. Dogs find it highly palatable, and it's easier on their stomachs. So we find a niche there. Aquaculture, I think that makes sense in general. And then backyard poultry, you can actually taste the difference in an egg. And I liken it to when you get a tomato at Safeway, and then you get a tomato from a heritage grower, and one tastes like a tomato and smells like a tomato, and one just sort of it looks like a tomato and doesn't really have the flavor of it. That's the difference. So all the backyard chicken guys love it because it's full of calcium, and you get a nice solid egg and a really yellow yolk and a really tasty egg in the end. You wouldn't think it's that big, but if you look at the market for dogs and cats, it's huge. I mean, call it for hyperallergenic food, it's 47,000 metric tons of that feed of insects could fill that feed. We compete against things like kangaroo meat and other exotics. And then even the wild bird feed and backyard poultry, particularly with COVID, these markets have doubled. So when it says here, like a treat for backyard chickens of 23,000 tons, that's what Tractor Supply stores or PV Marts sold last year. What they sell this year would be about double that, just because of everybody doing this at home. And so we're seeing this exponential demand that's driven by that. which is really interesting. So I'm going to try and share the, you probably see a picture of my kids right now. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to share screen the video. If I can do that to show you a little bit of what that looks like. Where are we here? Bear with me just a second. Show all windows. Perfect. My schedule, there it is. I just share computer sound. So I'll share this. So can everybody see a video right now? Is the video coming up, Nancy? Yeah, perfect. Okay. I'll make it full screen here.
Welcome to Intera, an industry-leading tech-focused company who is transforming the future of feed and food by harnessing the nutritional power of insects. Our world is full of rapid growth, change, and challenges. Population increases are fueling exponential demand for food and putting pressure on feed markets. Consumers are demanding a sustainable, less invasive way for food production systems. And then another reality, we all have limited resources. Over a decade ago, we began with a clear vision to face the challenge of sustainability and quality with alternative feed products head on. With perseverance, the brightest minds, and innovation, we produce the highest quality insect ingredients for animal feed and pet food companies at the forefront of innovation and sustainability. Working with the black soldier fly, we care for each stage of their life cycle, yielding 1 million times growth in just a few weeks, from egg to grown larvae. How do we do this? We're obsessed about quality. Our larvae are fed optimum diets, hand-tailored by our team of nutritionists and bioengineers. Our modular production facility ensures we care for our larvae through every stage, allowing us to meet the demands of an ever-growing industry well into the future, both nationally and globally. Local partnerships provide us with an abundance of fruits, vegetables, and feedstock, vetted by government for quality on all fronts, from policy, procedural rigor, and processing with leading technology, crafted for precision. Our result? A perfect diet for our larvae, built for success and maximum potential. At the end of their life cycle, we create a multitude of high-value products to meet global demand. And as new markets evolve and scale, we will be hand-in-hand providing value. Our proprietary technology and processes are designed for growth and reduce capital cost, using modular design to scale further production sites around the globe. With over 10 years of technological enhancement, our systems are measured and expandable, affording us the ability to move fast and tactfully to meet market demands. Customer satisfaction is guaranteed at Intera and reflects our core values of quality, integrity, and innovation. As a large partner in this dynamic market of alternative feed solutions, we look forward to expanding, partnering with new stakeholders, and making a real difference in the world we share.
Stop that. So as you can see, if you're going to have a video that's full of larvae, you got to throw in a few cats and dogs that are cuddly along the way. If not, you tend to lose the audience. Let me just find the presentation again. Oops. Oh man, managing too many screens all at the same time. Here. So we should have the presentation back up, and I'll just show you a little bit of what that looks like for us in a tray. Can you still see the full page presentation, or have I missed that?
It's not on the presenter view, it's on the preview.
Preview, yep. Okay, let me stop share. Share screen. Share, there.
Yeah.
So that should work now. So what that looks like, it took us a long time to grow and a lot of money to get there. But that facility that you just saw is, yeah, like I said, just outside of Calgary, and mainly because Alberta is one of 5 regions of the world that's a net exporter of food, and so we have the unique opportunity to grab a lot of these sort of feedstocks close to primary production, where they're at their sort of cheapest point in the value chain. And here's a tray. It's a 20-foot by 8-foot tray, and you can see all the larvae growing. It makes for an interesting field trip, if nothing else. But they tend to pack feed, so they'll build in these pathways and eat their way around a tray and produce high value protein really, really quickly. So that's enough about bugs. Anybody have any questions or anyone want to ask about bugs right at the moment?
Yeah, there was a question from Austin who was wondering why you chose to use soldier flies versus crickets, because I guess we've heard a lot about protein from crickets as well.
Absolutely. So crickets take longer to grow. Their diet is much more restrictive in terms of what they grow well on, and so they're a bit more expensive to grow. So they might get $15 to $20 in the market, and we get $5. But the consumer acceptance of crickets is much higher. So Maple Leaf Foods is an investor in one of our competitors in the cricket space, but black soldier flies, particularly for protein, for the feed market, is a cheaper alternative and more in line with what's there. Crickets, while they taste great, they don't necessarily scale as a business. And there's a question about human consumption, and we're definitely working on that right now. The challenge is to get to scale as a business. Feed was a better market to go after. Dogs are incredibly versatile in terms of what they'll eat as compared to, say, humans. It's much easier to switch one than the other, particularly if you've got the power to do so and there's an allergy involved. So it's going to take us a bit of time, and we'll work our way towards that. Anything else?
There's just one more question there that's asking about if you are able to capture that heat energy.
We don't actually. Our facility uses about 150 tons a day of feed ingredients. So those pineapples, while they look super great, we need about 150 tons of that kind of stuff every day. And so all those calories go into the building. There's just no way to efficiently grab that heat. So except in coldest days of winter, we actually generate way more heat and have to cool down the building so that all those calories have somewhere to go. Imagine it's like too many kids in a classroom, and the energy that comes out of those kids would be my best example in the context here. It is somewhere where we're heading. The next company is one we started a few years ago to look at how to grow feed and food indoors, particularly for cattle, where looking at things like grass-fed beef. And how do you do grass-fed beef in Alberta? Well, the challenge is grass-fed beef, you either have to do a bunch of grass silage or do something to manage through the winter, or you need to have large chunks of land, and that land might be otherwise productive doing something else. So we wanted to look at how we could grow, in our case, barley grass, which is like wheatgrass but from barley, efficiently as a nutritious feedstock for cattle all year round, to try and get Alberta into that sort of grass-fed beef without necessarily the off flavors that come from grass-fed beef at times. So we built the business again to look at both fodder for feed for cattle, but as well to look at what we could grow for food. And I'll talk a little bit about both of how we do it. So this is barley grass. Looks a lot like wheatgrass that you might see at a except we can grow this in about 8 days. So our facility in BC can grow 4 tons of barley a day on an 8-day cycle. And that's incredibly efficient because it's 2,800 square feet. So it's about the size of call it a big house, but we can grow enough feed to feed 200 cows without needing all of that land. So farmers who are growing cattle and have them on grazing land, that land is a lot of capital that's tied up, and they don't need that land to spread out. They need land for its ability to hold those animals and feed those animals. But we can grow that grass indoors and it's available 365 days a year. Much like why people would have wheatgrass or shots of that, it's much healthier as well. It's packed at 8 days with nutrients, and allows you to um, improve on the sort of force-fed grain diet that cattle weren't really meant to eat, but we force them to eat because it improves yield and otherwise. So again, animals are healthier. They tend to find this product in their feed and eat it out. And it can be actually too hot a feed at times. We have to make sure we break it up pretty good. If not, they can find their way into it too much. The other thing is we grow that indoors every year, and anybody who's been in farming knows that the cost of things goes up and down both with the weather and with the markets. And because we're indoors, it's the perfect day in June every day. And so the cost to feed is largely the same every day, and we can provide that sort of assurance to folks. So take one of the metrics out of a business that tends to change all the time. How it works: 2 units of grain would normally feed 2 animals. 2 units of grain produces 12 units of fodder, and it grows out to feeds about 4 animals, a little less, 3.8 animals, the worth of nutrition. And we don't add any nutrients. We don't add any like fertilizer. We don't add anything besides light and water to get that to unlock that value. The rest of that's inefficient use of the grain by the animal otherwise. And so there's less manure. It's a healthier animal. All those things are there. This is a great experiment. We did it before we got started. Basically sprout out barley, and you can see it grow incredibly quickly. And all of the bits that make the barley, besides the CO2 that it pulls down from photosynthesis, is in that seed. And so it just unlocks that nutrients and makes it available. And it's actually pretty tasty to eat when you get down to it, much like a wheatgrass would be. What we found from doing this is actually it made the cows healthier, particularly in dairies, to the point where the loss of efficiency in a dairy is because of pregnancy and conception rates. So if it takes a long time to get the cow pregnant in the cycle, the milk drops off and there's a waste of dollars. But when the cattle were being fed a really nutritious diet in the few weeks before in vitro fertilization, the conception rates went way up, because if you can consider a healthy body is more available to handle a pregnancy, and therefore the conception rates were just that much higher. We don't really know all the mechanisms of it, but you can think of that from a human example. It's pretty clear. A healthy mom for a healthy baby, and the same thing in the cattle industry. And so we've actually found a niche where feeding cows just in that part of the cycle actually really improves it. It got to the point where anecdotally, other farmers were bringing their trouble breeders to the farm to go through this process, and it was sort of the unspoken word. It was really quite interesting for us. So part of it's getting rid of all the nutrients that are in there, and just doing it for that 4 to 6 weeks really created an opportunity for the cattle to the dairy farm to see an increase in productivity through artificial insemination. Then there's the food business, and this is an interesting one. Everybody wants to grow more food, and this is a great way to do it. Much like we can grow barley in 8 days, we can do other micronutrients, microgreens to the same scale. The challenge right now is food distribution and getting food to market really quickly, and meeting the sort of safe food for Canadians along the way to do it. Ironically, we don't add any fertilizer or anything else, but we can't qualify as organic. But again, it's a great way to make salad quickly, and we've looked at this for sort of some places where there's some food security issues, where in the north and places, food islands, particularly islands in the Caribbean, where you can't produce food because it doesn't grow there. And so things like lettuce and that they need to import, that's where the market is. Or on I've lived on native reserves in northern Ontario, like north of Red Lake, and getting a head of lettuce was a waste of time. It was too expensive, and the quality was terrible, and the nutrition of it had suffered greatly. And so we're looking at applications not in Calgary, where we all want the freshest, greatest food, but where there's places where there's relative food insecurity. And so that's where we're focused there. Microgreens, herbs, and vegetables. And we did some crop trials last year, and with COVID, it was particularly timely as everybody struggled to find ways to feed. Unfortunately, a lot of these ingredients you only typically get when you go to a restaurant, the garnishes and the salads. And so we're looking at bringing that into the customer at home. But it's a pretty quick growth cycle. less than 2 weeks, and you can get really high yield. It's really quite dramatic. It's like the old chia pets, but for actual edible food. The last one I'll talk about here, I'm just going to tangle myself, is Waterford Farms. And this was our shot in the dark that we took to build a shrimp farm in Alberta. We're in the beef business, as I've shown, and so we wanted to be able to build the sort of Alberta surf and turf model. So we went that way. But I pause. Is there any questions based on the aeroponics side of the business? Oh, I see someone. Okay, there we go. So the Waterford Farms, we grow shrimp in Alberta. Shrimp, the industry, if you look it up on YouTube, you'll see videos on slavery, on fraud, where they add salt to the shrimp before they freeze them, so they retain water. So they're at a higher weight. It's when you cook shrimp at home and they shrivel up into nothing, and they get that white paste. That's a salt that's been added to them to bulk them up for flavor. So for flavor and for size. And so we wanted to build a fresh product here in Alberta. And I got a video that I'll show on this one as well, given how successful Hardy Har, the last one, was. So we're competing in a market where up until recently, seafood was the number 2 trade deficit to oil in the US. And now that US is oil independent, seafood is the largest trade deficit in the US, which is a weird thing to think about. All that seafood they eat, almost none of it's grown in country. And so there's a huge food insecurity issue there. The USDA does 2% of seafood, and 50% of it fails when it comes in the border. And so, and it fails for things, chemicals in the shrimp and that are in the water, and so having a local source of high value shrimp is where we were going to, particularly in Asian markets where there's a premium for fresh and live shrimp. And a shrimp's a pretty interesting animal. It grows in about 20 weeks, but it molts 3 or 4 times, and they're cannibals, so they like to eat each other. And so you have to, it's quite a careful thing to grow them, but they are very interesting to watch, quite docile, and they're not eating each other, of course, if you feed them well. So we grow, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Here's a little bit on our seafood and how we market it. The difference between our seafood and the seafood you'd buy is when you cook ours, it doesn't shrink, and it doesn't taste metallic or salty, like you would like a sodium chloride taste that you get with most shrimp. And so it's got a very interesting texture. And we actually have people who complain that it doesn't taste like shrimp, because the only shrimp they've ever tasted tastes like metal, like the cheap $6 or $10 shrimp you get at Safeway, which has been imported and frozen that way. We went with the Southwest model, so we built a module. You can see them here. It's a stack system because we have to split them over and over and over again. So think of it like feedlots where they're small, you keep them together, split them over and over. And we're fully recirculating. So we built a system that would take the water, clean it up, and put it back. And the reason for that is it's quite an intensive business in terms of put a lot of shrimp per square foot in that thing, and you got to get a lot of feed in, and you got to get all that waste out. And we built the unit this way so that it could scale. It doesn't work well for sort of the aquarium size, but at sort of an industrial scale, our building is just outside Strathmore, and you never know if you drove past on the Highway 1 past Strathmore, you've driven past a shrimp farm, but it just sits in a sprung structure out there, and it's 90% humidity inside, and about 30 degrees every day in that shrimp farm as we go now. So I'm going to switch over and show a video of that. It shows the shrimp in the tank, and that'll be sort of the last piece before I turn it back, maybe for some questions or a different chat. Let's go. Share. Oh, whoops. Sharing down. So hopefully that worked. Oh, I've got the sound off.
Rethinking that. It's a shrimp farm, completely indoors.
It's all stacked vertically so that we don't have to touch the shrimp. We can just move them down and space them out more as we need to as we go.
From the complex water filtration system, which cleans the tanks at least once an hour, to where the shrimp are actually housed, this is a high-tech operation. It's also a costly one, a $3 million investment when you include the building, the land, and equipment. But Waterford Farms and partner TJ Food Group is confident it will pay off for them and the economy, producing about 2,000 pounds of shrimp per week, and that's just a start, something not expected by many from the prairies.
For us, this is a natural next step. We grow our proteins close, we grow our veggies close. We're trying to do that sort of local supply where the chef can come out and say, no, I know where that came from, like we would do with beef, like we would do with hogs and lamb and everything else. And seafood just has been neglected in that.
TJ's model is global source, local values. And now we're able to switch that around and we're going to be local source, global in strength. So we're really excited. Plus, to be involved in something that's sustainable, local, like we've been looking for that for a long, long time.
Again, this is just the first phase of the project. The farm hopes to expand to other products and other cities. As for the shrimp, the first harvest is expected at the end of this month. Tomassi Da Silva, Global News.
There you go. Oh. I paused there. Sorry, I just went to the commercial afterwards. So that's what I do. It's weird. It's interesting. It's not something that I learned in school. It's something I've picked up along the way, and I hope it was interesting. I'm happy to answer any questions or talk through any of what this could do to be interesting for you guys in your classrooms and in your programs.
Yeah, there's a couple questions here, Keith. So somebody wants to know if the shrimp are available. Excuse me. If the shrimp are available at grocery stores here in Alberta, where do you sell them?
Sure. So we sell through Sea Fish, and they've got a couple stores in Calgary, and then they distribute them primarily. Unfortunately, our primary market was restaurants, and so luckily we were just doing a turnaround when COVID hit. And so we'll have shrimp back up in time for Stampede again next year to grow that. But Sea Fish is the distributor, and it was in TNT, and it was at the North Sea retail locations as well. I know North Sea does delivery now, so we'll be in their delivery program in 2021.
Excellent. Someone wants to know where your brood stock originated from.
That's an excellent question. So, every month I go to the airport, and or I used to go to the airport at 10:30 at night. The flight would come in, and the border security guys and the CFA would all stare at each other for about 2 or 3 hours till 1, 2 in the morning, until finally they realized that they couldn't leave the airport until they let me have them, and they had to clear them, and there was no guidance for how to clear shrimp through customs. We do have all the legal paperwork, but it was just, it's not something that happens every day. So we'd ship in 200,000 shrimp, baby shrimp that are 10 days old. They're the size of a tip of a pin. And I'd unload the family van from all the seats, drive to the airport, fill them up with shrimp, drive out to Strathmore, and by about 5 in the morning, we had them all in the tanks. And that was once a month we do that as they get flown in. So they used to come in from Texas, and now they're going to be coming in from Florida. And so it's an expensive flight, let me tell you, to get those shrimp in every month, but it's worth.
Excellent. Shelley would like to know if you're ever open for field trips post-COVID, of course.
Post-COVID, absolutely. We are, and happy to do that. Personal interest, which is why I'm speaking today, is in entrepreneurship and youth and getting them excited about things that are there. And COVID, we did field trips, and we do that again afterwards to show how to do that and how to feed and both the bugs and the shrimp. Absolutely.
Great. Can you clarify at TNT, is it available as Shrimply? Is that the brand?
It's not there now.
Okay.
It was going to be in their live tanks. So we were going for a live product and you might see spot prawns there in the spring every year. It was going to be that, but year round was live shrimp. There's a particularly high value in those markets for live product, and and obviously hard to get shrimp there live unless you're located 30 minutes to the east. You know, that's where we'd be. Yeah.
Great. Are any other questions here for Keith before we move on? I don't see anything else. Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much, Keith, for sharing about all of your different projects. I actually have a question. Like, where are you getting your inspiration from? What made you think about like the possibility of growing shrimp in the middle of the prairies? It's pretty outside the box.
Well, ironically, I got the idea while living in Iowa, which doesn't make it any better. But for us, the macro trend is things like the seafood being the largest trade deficit to oil, and it just means there's this, with the whole local food movement, there's just this opportunity to do things a little bit differently. And being in that alternative ag spot, I tend to get hit with people with really crazy ideas, and I'm just that kind of person, I guess, who says yes maybe a little too easily to some of them, but it's a lot of fun. It's an expensive hobby, but it's fun to do.
Great. Yes, so I think just end off the session, I just wanted to let the teachers know that if you're interested in a program that encourages student innovation, that also targets issues in sustainability, to check out our Sustainable Youth Challenge program at Ag for Life, and I'll send the program information out as well to the teachers. But it's a yearly challenge program where students have to innovate a solution to the theme of the year. So our starting off theme for this year is food extremes. We think back to what Modesta was presenting about earlier in the day, and challenging students to come up with some of their own innovative ideas to target food insecurity and food waste issues related to sustainability. So I think it fits really nicely in with kind of what you've been talking about, Keith. So I think it's a great way if you want to get your students inspired to start thinking about entrepreneurship and innovation, and just thinking outside the box like this. It's a really great opportunity, and we all are looking for a few teachers still to pilot before Christmas if possible. It's all 100% online now. So as I said, I'll send you the link for that as well, so you can take a look at it. And if there's nothing else, then we have about